And good evening, Santa Cruz. Welcome to Voices from the Village, Community Television's long-running community affairs public talk show featuring call-in, all kinds of fun stuff. You never know what's going to happen on this amazing show. My name's Sandino Gomez. I'll be your host tonight as we talk about the Reelwork Labor Film Festival, an amazing local labor of love, if you will, put together in 3 different counties, Santa Cruz, Monterey, as well as Santa Clara County, between April 24th up until May 8th. In fact, why don't we just launch right into a little promotional video about the Reelwork Film Festival, and we'll be back right after this.
This land is your land, this land is my land, from California.
The Reelwork Labor Film Festival has been putting on a week-long series of film and cultural events since 2002 was our first year.
The policy actually read that they would no longer employ anybody who did not demonstrate normal heterosexual values.
They held a big meeting, and you are fired.
I think this is going to be our 12th year.
12th year?
I think this is our 12th year.
All proud to be Americans today. Fly your flag with pride.
Once again, the streets of our country were taken over today by people who don't belong here.
They never teach us in school that the huge Latino presence here is a direct result of our own government's actions in Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central America over many decades.
America has always been a nation in the process of becoming, in process of change. It is an immigrant nation.
This year it's going to be, we always do it around May Day, May 1st. So it's the end of April and the beginning of May. This year, in 2013, April 27th to May 5th.
Is the answer. You stay in power by convincing people that there is no alternative.
And what do artists and writers and musicians do except dream of other ways of doing stuff?
People on the outside understand the system much better than the people on the inside.
Are we going forward or are we moving back? The question for me is, am I on the right side of history?
A filmmaker did a film about the Republic door and window takeover several years ago, and he came and presented that film. He's now working on a film about the Chicago teachers' strike, and we hope he's going to have it finished, at least a rough cut, to show on May 1st, on May Day at the Del Mar Theater.
From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters.
People can find out more information about that at our website, www.reelwork.org. That's R-E-E-L as in a movie reel.
Once we expose Koch brothers, that unlocks the door.
We need to pay attention to what the Koch brothers are doing.
It's bad enough.
We need to care about
in terms of what they're doing to our planet. We should have.
We're not going to be fooled anymore.
This is one way we are trying to counter the negative attitudes and opinions about unions, is to show in film some of the history and the struggles and what it took to get us the weekend and the 8-hour day.
This land was made for you and me.
And welcome back, Santa Cruz. I'm still Sandino Gomez, and we are talking about the Reelwork Labor Film Festival. You just saw the video kind of promoting the festival, but we're always curious what ordinary people like yourselves have to say around our show's topic. So we've got this roll-in segment of you, Santa Cruz, voices from the street having to do with labor unions as well as sort of working conditions. We'll be right back after this.
This is Voices from the Village. We're in downtown Santa Cruz and we're asking people, what do you think about unions and the right to work?
Unions are definitely a good construct to exist. They do help give rights to the workers, but sometimes unions do go a little far, but mostly I think they're a good construct and should continue to exist.
As I understand it, right to work takes away the ability of unions to, reach compromises, reach agreements with big business. So I think it's not a good thing because I feel like a lot of workers are already underrepresented and underpowered, I guess. So I think that right to work legislation is not a good idea.
Last quarter we were reading this book about Walmart and about how they don't support unions for their workers, and I don't think that's correct. I think we need unions, I guess. That's all I can say. I don't know. Can you say something?
I think unions really served a purpose historically, but I think they ended up pricing themselves out of the market. So I don't know, if they work with that reality of, they've got to be competitive, it makes sense, I guess. Because there are conditions that need to be protected, but it's just when they start demanding more and more pay that's unreasonable that moves the workforce to China or wherever,
I don't know, I haven't really thought about it. I think that unions are great in some places, and in other places they sort of drive up the cost of goods. So I think it's kind of mixed on them. But I do believe in a good living wage for everybody. Absolutely, and definitely healthcare for all. But, I think I go back and forth on the idea of unions.
In my experience with unions as a manager, I've worked really well with them at times. Sometimes they've been counterproductive with the staff. It just depends on the union itself.
I don't know. I am in a union. I've been in a union for a year and a half. I've never been in a union before. I'm from West Virginia, and I moved out here as a traveling nurse. Anyway, I started working as a union, and I love it. I've heard bad things and good things about unions, but it's been 100%. I love it. They give you great support. Plus, it's a great thing. Unions are a great thing. Yeah, I'm very blessed to be in a union right now. Well, I worked for almost 30 years as a nurse in West Virginia, and we had none of it was union, and we were told if the union people come in here and they start talking, you get in touch with us right away, they're out of here. This is not a union place, and if you even mention union, you'd probably be fired. So they was very much stressed, very much, taboo back there. And they worked you very hard, and they could continue to work you hard. Like I was in charge of 18 patients. I'm a registered nurse. I was in charge of 18 patients back in West Virginia, and the stress was phenomenal. Everything. Here you can only have 5 patients in the union here where I work, and you give better patient care, of course, and the pay out here is better too.
That's what people had to say in Santa Cruz. Back to you in the studio.
Wow. Santa Cruz, you never fail to surprise us. We appreciate your participation in this show, and we appreciate your participation in Voices from the Village, Community TV's long-running public affairs show. With us tonight, we have Jeffrey Smedberg as well as Sam Mayfield, 2 participants in the Labor Film Festival, one organizer of the festival, and one a filmmaker with her film, Sam's film, Wisconsin Rising. Kind of documenting the recent labor struggles over there in Wisconsin. We'll hear more about that. But before we talk about the specific film, why don't we hear a little bit from you, Jeffrey? Why don't you tell us a little bit more about Reelwork?
Glad to be on the show tonight.
Yeah, welcome.
We're a few days into the film festival. We had our first screening last Wednesday in San Jose, and we've had a screening in Monterey. We've had a couple of screenings in Santa Cruz, and we've been producing festivals around the May 1st, around International Workers' Day, for 12 years now, and it's starting to be a habit in Santa Cruz.
A very good habit. Man, I hate to admit my age and everything, but I remember when the whole thing started, and it's just so great to see it continuing and kind of bringing the sort of media that I think community TV is really dedicated to, those kind of voices that you don't otherwise necessarily hear about. And speaking of which, that sounds like for what I read here, that sounds like a passion of yours, Sam. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and thank you Santa Cruz Community TV for hosting me, and to Jeffrey and the Reelwork Film Festival for screening Wisconsin Rising as a work in progress. I think it's a really remarkable film festival that you've put together, and the films that are being shown are ones that I hope the whole country has an opportunity to see. It's a really nice festival, and it's clear that a lot of energy has gone into it. So, and I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah. How did you get into documentary filmmaking? Like, how did that develop for you?
Well, specifically into documentary filmmaking, I have been creating media since, I guess, 2001, and I worked for government access television for several years in Vermont.
Sister station.
Totally sister station, yeah,
right.
Community TV. And I've been working, this is my second documentary that I've made.
Cool.
And I've been working for myself for several years now. And I was asked to go out to Wisconsin during the 2011 uprisings, following Scott Walker's introduction of his controversial budget repair bill. And I was called by an independent media outlet in Minnesota, The Uptake, and they called and said, hey Sam, would you go to Wisconsin and report for us on this uprising? And I had been covering solidarity rallies in Vermont that we were having there, and I was feeding those stories to various independent media outlets. And The Uptake in Minnesota was one of them. And so I said, yeah, absolutely, I can go to Wisconsin and film that. And so I got to Wisconsin, and I got on the ground, and I saw history unfolding in front of me. And so initially I didn't go to make a documentary film. I didn't go thinking, oh, I'm going to make a film. I went thinking that I was going to report for 4 days, and ultimately I stayed for 7 months because it was so clear that what was being represented to me at home and in the articles that I was reading online, that the truth of what was happening and the masses of people that were there was not, in my opinion, being accurately represented. And the opinions of the people there on the streets and inside the Capitol were not being accurately portrayed. And so when I got there and I spoke to the people, I fell in love with Wisconsin, and I fell in love with the humanity and with this little piece of American history that was so remarkable.
I mean, it really seemed like, you know, they're saying that Wisconsin was in a way kind of the home of the original labor movement. And just to see this kind of new struggle, a new chapter in American labor history, because you know we've seen a steady decline of unionization, and it just seems that more and more, you know, business and the powers that be are kind of just seeing what can they get away with. And it seemed like Wisconsin, to me, was really a place where people drew a line in the sand and said, you know, this is going too far. What exactly was the issue that kind of, because you know, as like you said, there's been a lot of confusion, I think, around what the actual issue was, and you know, you hear corporate media kind of spouting this line that these people are entitled and like, you know, they have these good things going. Why don't they like work hard like the rest of us, which is really sad.
Right.
But I mean, what did you see there? I mean, you said it was Governor Walker's budget repair bill.
His budget repair bill. I mean,
but what was really fronting as what?
His attempt to strip unions of their right to collectively bargain.
Right.
And the attempt to strip only certain strategic unions of their right to collectively bargain. Absent from the bill were the firefighters and the cops, thinking that they would not be acting in solidarity with the teachers and the other public workers. And I think to the surprise of Walker's administration, the firefighters and the cops stood in solidarity with all of the public workers and the people who were not even union members at all. I mean, it was...
The police refused to clear out these peaceful assemblies.
Sure, and the firefighters slept in the Capitol in solidarity with the protesters as well. I mean, the thing, you know, what did I see and what did I hear? I heard people telling me over and over again that they didn't know at what point public workers and teachers were the enemy, but it's clear that they're being treated like the enemy, and they didn't feel like they were being treated like respected members of society. And the ability to divide people and attempt to conquer them is strong. There's a long history of this being a successful method of pitting people against each other.
Certainly.
And what happened in Wisconsin is not an exception to that. You know, the ability for people who were making $12 an hour to become angered by people who are making $13 an hour is remarkable, because nobody's winning here, you know? Nobody's really winning, and so yeah, there was a fabrication or a manufacturing of the idea that some people were greedy. And these greedy people are making, barely minimum wage, and they're not greedy, and they're not thugs as they were being reported in. So
ultimately, despite this amazing popular movement, I mean, the bill passed. What happened? I mean, kind of update us in the situation in terms of like kind of a quick chronology of history.
The bill passed.
Yeah.
People lost their right to have conversations in the workplace about certain things that keep them safe and that keep them productive members of their workplace. The people attempted to recall Walker. Walker maintains his seat. Right. The grassroots are recollecting and thinking about different methods of organizing, I think.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we cut to a trailer for your film? We will be right back after this short clip or trailer. I don't know. What is it? It's from Wisconsin Rising, though, and it's made by Sam Mayfield, and you're here on Voices from the Village. We'll be right back after this.
The eyes of the nation were on the political firestorm in Wisconsin late last winter when Republican Governor Scott Walker took on the labor union representing the state's public employees.
What we're doing here in Wisconsin is leading the way with a better alternative.
Governor, we can hear thousands of people in the halls screaming shame, shame, shame. We can hear that in your office right now. Can you respond to that?
Sure. I've said every day since I introduced this a month ago that the protesters are here and around the Capitol, at least those from Wisconsin, increasingly there are more and more from other states, but those from Wisconsin have every right to be here.
This is a total attack. This is the killing of a generation of people.
We encouraged our kids to go into these honorable professions, and now they're getting screwed for it.
We're not going to let just one man and one set of politicians come in and change everything that we've been working on for so long.
It's a terrible assault on labor or work in general.
If this goes through and it starts there, it's just the beginning of the end for any of the unions across the states.
Walking away from teaching is like saying, don't be who you are anymore. And, that's not a fair thing to say to somebody. I don't think that's fair at all.
This is not just a union fight, but this is a middle class fight, and we need all hands working, as we say in the fire service.
We've had a complete breakdown of the democratic process here in Wisconsin.
It's the system that needs to be recalled. It's the system that needs to be taken down and transformed. It's the system that needs to be upended.
Their vision of democracy is very, very different than ours, and people really have to pay attention to this and start bird-dogging these institutions, these legislators, these corporations, and taking back their democracy.
You have aroused a sleeping giant known as the working people of the United States of America. Madison is only the beginning.
Hello, I'm Sam Mayfield, the filmmaker. I am a video journalist from Burlington, Vermont. I went to Madison, Wisconsin to report on the uprising in the early days, back in March. And when I got on the ground in Wisconsin, I was overwhelmed by what I saw. I watched as history was unfolding. This story is about you. This story is about all of us, and that's why you should donate. This is an attack on our democracy. With money raised here, I'll make a feature-length documentary. And with your help, it can come out in time well before the November 2012 elections. We need $200,000 to make this film. And if every person who stood out in the streets on that freezing cold day, March 12th in Madison, Wisconsin, gives $1, just $1, we'll be able to fund the film. The way Kickstarter works is we set a goal and we only receive funding if we meet the goal. So what we did was we set the goal low so that we're insured to meet it. But we have confidence that if each of you care about this story, that you'll give a little and that you'll share this with your friends and invite them to give a little. And we love the idea of people entirely funding this project. There is a tremendous momentum growing around the globe, and we can learn from each other's examples. Please help us tell this story. Thank you very much for sharing this with your friends and for helping this documentary get made.
Welcome back, Santa Cruz. I'm Sandino Gomez, and we're here on Voices from the Village talking about the Reelwork Labor Film Festival. We just saw a clip from your film, Sam Mayfield. And again, if you don't already know, it's playing tonight at the Resource Center for Nonviolence, 612 Ocean Street, 7 p.m. You're probably already a little bit late, but just start recording now and you can still get there. If that is you're watching on Sunday, April 28th. Otherwise, just get down to whatever of the film festival is left, and you can find that out at reelwork.org. Why don't we talk about a few more of the other films that we have here, guys? There's a whole amazing list of stuff.
Right.
I don't think any of which I've actually seen, except Maestra. I'm proud to say I've seen Maestra. But other than that, Jeffrey, why don't we talk a little bit about some of these films?
Right, on Monday night, April 29th, we're going to have a Reelwork event right here in the community television studio on 816 Pacific Avenue. And we're going to be showing Out at Work. And this event is hosted by the Diversity Center in town, and we'll have the Triangle speakers here on hand. And as you can guess, the Out at Work has to do with the oppression of gay and lesbian people in the workplace. There are more than 40 U.S. states where at the time that the film was made, 10 years ago, it was legal to fire somebody just because of their sexual orientation.
And wasn't, I mean, who was the big boycott that was around, like some fast food chain where the guy made statements saying like we don't want like homosexual business? What was that, like fast food chain? It's Cracker Barrel. The film we're talking about deals with Cracker Barrel, but there's this recent one that I just can't.
Right.
Oh, what was that?
It's unfortunate that there's...
I mean, it's still relevant. It's absolutely still relevant.
Yeah, it's relevant, and it's unfortunate that it's not popping out at us because it's not so uncommon for people to be disenfranchised in their workplace based on many things, isn't it?
Certainly, certainly. Again, at the Resource Center for well, hold on. Before we go on, why don't we watch a trailer from Out at Work? In fact, we got trailers for this. So let's watch this stuff.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back after this.
People don't realize they can be vicious. There's just so much of that individuals can take, and I think Ron was right on the borderline of a breakdown.
Almost every bathroom wall had my name on it. There was a bullseye at work that was posted saying such and such amount of money of reward for the assassination of Ron Woods with a bullseye on it.
I think it's a good idea. If you're homosexual, they should fire you. And the union should just turn their back on you.
I worked for a Cracker Barrel. Two of the managers that knew that I was a lesbian, but nobody else in the entire store knew.
In fact, it was 4 days before our 10th anniversary.
The policy actually read that they would no longer employ anybody who did not demonstrate normal heterosexual values.
They held a big meeting, and you are fired.
First people we called were the ACLU. They told us that there was nothing that they could do about it, that what they had done was perfectly legal.
hey, this is my shot to work in the largest government bond trading firm in the world. I mean, quite frankly, it's like a dream come true. You can see maybe one gay joke, 2 gay jokes. I have evidence of probably 50. They had my car professionally repainted as a police cruiser. And there must be 15 gay slurs on there, anti-gay jibes, like poo stabber, pole smoker.
To have someone like power position and authority position holding out this carrot of like, you can make $1 million a year, but you're gonna have to put up with my crap.
A lot of people would have gone back in there with a machine gun the next day and blown everybody away.
We went to our first protest. We had Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to you. Happy Mother's Day, dear Mom.
Hire gays and lesbians back now. Change your policy.
After I became known as gay in 1991, my life became a living hell due to extreme harassment and discrimination. I ask that my union do the right thing by steadfastly demanding that such discrimination be forbidden contractually. We must protect all of our members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
I am more aware of discrimination now. Being a white male, from this type of area, you don't even have a clue that homosexuals, disabled people, and women and people of color are discriminated against. Because it's never happened to you.
There you go. You just saw the trailer from Out at Work playing Monday at 7 p.m. right here in the studios of Community Television. We'll see you there. But there's more, like the healthcare movie, which is going to be playing at the Resource Center for Nonviolence on Tuesday, April 30th.
Right, 7 o'clock is the showtime for just about all of these events.
Okay.
The healthcare movie, some of you may have seen Sicko, Michael Moore's film, which gave a perspective on healthcare systems in different countries around the world. This one is focusing on the differences between Canada and the United States. And it's very interesting that we think, oh, somehow there's single-payer health care in Canada and there isn't in the United States, and we don't understand that it didn't just happen. It didn't. And there was a huge political fight, a huge political struggle to make that happen. And the Canadians are very proud of the result they got from all that years of organizing and political action. And so we do have a very good trailer on that one.
Great. Well, we'll be right back after this trailer from the healthcare movie, going to be at Tuesday at the Resource Center.
What do you know about Canadian healthcare?
Very little.
We have a shared history of the development of our healthcare services. In both countries up until about 1950, we had pretty much the same system.
How's your healthcare system work for you?
Lousy.
And how do you feel about your healthcare system?
I think it's wonderful.
I can't say enough good things about it.
I just thank God every day that I am a Canadian citizen.
I'm happy to be here.
I'm very lucky.
We are blessed.
Every time that I've absolutely needed healthcare.
Because of our
We've had
the Canadian system. Canada.
Very pleased.
I would choose the Canadian system.
I really like the healthcare system.
All in all, it's pretty good.
I have nothing but praise. How has the Canadian healthcare system treated you?
Well, we're still alive. I think it's the result that counts.
This is not the president's house. This is not the Democrats' house. This is the people's house, and the American people don't want a government takeover of health care.
If the system is so bad and we're all so strongly supportive of it, you must think we're really stupid.
There you go, Santa Cruz. You just saw the trailer from the healthcare movie, documenting kind of some of the differences between the United States and Canada's healthcare systems. Oh, geez, wouldn't it be nice if the United States had a healthcare system? Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Right.
So
the next day,
coming up Wednesday,
Wednesday is May 1st, which is, besides May Day, it's also International Workers' Day, which is the real Labor Day celebrated everywhere in the world except in the United States. And one of the goals of the Reelwork May Day Labor Film Festival is to reclaim May 1st as Labor Day in the United States. And so we're showing a film that evening, and the film is Harvest of Empire, which is based on a book by Juan Gonzalez, who's the co-anchor of Democracy Now! Along with Amy Goodman. And he wrote a book a few years ago, and this film is based on that. It's really the background historical perspective on why we have so much immigration, particularly from Latin America, in the United States. It's very clear that U.S. policy created the incentive and the push to get people to come to this country. You know, we rely on a lot of cheap labor from immigrants, and it's very appropriate this year to show that film on International Workers' Day, because this year, immigration reform, there's a chance at getting some immigration reform legislation through our federal Congress. And
would be nice.
And on this same day, sort of following in the footsteps of immigration actions in the past few years, there are going to be it is an immigration reform action day. And so, for example, in Watsonville, in the plaza in Watsonville, from 6:30 to 7:30, there's going to be a rally at La Plaza on Main Street. And in Santa Cruz, at the clock tower, between 5:30 and 6:30, there will be another rally. And then the rally is going to finish with a march down Pacific Avenue to the Del Mar Theater, so that all the people in the rally can go in and watch the film, Harvest of Empire.
And then you're going to have UCSC's Professor of Latin American Latino Studies, Hector Perla, is going to be kind of leading the discussion after. Most of these films, in fact, have discussions after, right? That's just great. Sam's, of course, going to be leading tonight's.
Right. Just to mention that all the people in the rally who are going to go down and come see the movie, all of our events are admission by voluntary donation. So we do.
No one turned away for lack of funds.
We don't turn people away. Of course, we appreciate donations to help keep the film festival.
Everyone's got a buck or two.
But we really want people to see these films, important films.
Well, why don't we go to the trailer for Harvest of Empire right now? We'll be right back after this trailer.
Once again, the streets of our country were taken over today by people who don't belong here.
When the immigrants come, they come with a culture of criminality. It's out of control. They put a strain on our Social Security, our education, our health care.
They never teach us in school that the huge Latino presence here is a direct result of our own government's actions in Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central America over many decades. Thousands upon thousands of Puerto Ricans were actually recruited to come work here in the United States.
The feeling was we could very easily overthrow this progressive government and make it a lot easier for the United Fruit Company and other American businesses to operate in Central America.
From the very beginning, the West depended for its labor on Mexicans.
Are you a communist, Fidel? Wait for the history. The history will say what we are.
I had never seen anything like El Salvador. I was more frightened there than Vietnam. What was going on there was the slaughter of the innocents.
When you finance and train a gang of uniformed butchers and they begin wholesale killing, the people don't emigrate, they flee.
The instability that we have contributed to creates the kind of chaos and disarray that leads to more immigration.
I believe in the idea of amnesty for those who have put down roots, even though they may have entered illegally.
The reality is that America is changing. By the end of this century, a majority of the people will trace their origins not to Europe, but to Latin America.
We're all humans, we all have the same abilities, we all have the same potential.
America has always been a nation in the process of becoming, in process of change. It is an immigrant nation.
And we're back. You just saw the trailer from Harvest of Empire. You know, talking about Latin America, I think is very appropriate because this next film that we're going to be talking about on Thursday, May 2nd, very near and dear to me and my heart, having to do with the Cuban Revolution and sort of the role that ordinary workers played in the literacy campaigns, in the education, the kind of popular education that occurred after the revolutionary triumph in 1959. So Maestra is, I mean, I've seen it, it's an amazing film. It was almost all like women, and a lot of these women even underage, going out into the countryside, and just they had this massive literacy campaign that virtually eradicated illiteracy. I mean, Maestra was really an amazing film. Sorry.
Yeah, 250,000 young volunteers, most of them young people, and the majority of them young women, as young as 14, first time away from their home. And they were, this was in 1961, you know, within the first year or two of the Cuban Revolution. And they talk about it as, they don't say, they say that's when the beginning of the revolution happened, and they consider it ongoing. And this experience really motivated them and inspired them. And so, you know, the nice thing about that film, it follows some people who speak today in Cuba about their experiences, some women today, and how this was such an important factor in inspiring them to choose their life's work, and a lot of them chose public service and so forth.
Right. Well, let's go to this trailer from Maestra. We'll be right back after this.
Un año en que cada cubano que supiera leer y escribir enseñaría a cada cubano que no supiera.
Yo estudiaba en el preuniversitario y entonces me enteré, hicieron un llamado por la AJR que empezaba en ese momento, que quien le interesaba ir a alfabetizar. Me anoté en una planilla, me llamaron enseguida. Fui de primer llamado, a los primeros que fueron a alfabetizar, el primer llamado.
Desde que conocí que se estaba haciendo esa convocatoria para alfabetización y que se estaba pidiendo que estudiantes de la ciudad fuéramos al campo a alfabetizar, a mí aquello me entusiasmó muchísimo. Y mi mamá puso el grito en el cielo. Cuando ya yo la tenía bastante convencida a ella y mi papá había hablado, vino lo del ataque de Playa Girón.
En ese tiempo tenía 15 años, acababa de cumplir mis 15 años. Quedan años y que suceda alguna otra cosa, pero hasta hoy, en mis recientes 58 años cumplidos el 22 de mayo, no tengo otra cosa con una fuerza tan grande como esa y que me evoque a su vez, cuando comienzo a hablar de ella, me evoca para la historia de mi vida las cosas más importantes que he realizado.
And you just saw the trailer from Maestra, an amazing film documenting the Cuban literacy campaign of the early Cuban Revolution. You know, it's kind of amazing because Cuba was really able to do all of that with virtually nothing. Like Jeffrey said, it's all volunteers that basically participated in this campaign. And you know, we hear constantly, oh, we don't have the money, we're broke. But this next film, on Friday, May 3rd, at Cabrillo College's Watsonville Forum, this next film called We're Not Broke, that argues otherwise. Jeffrey?
Yes, absolutely. The film it tries to point out that this "we're not broke," which has been parroted over and over in all of the media, is a real myth. It's just like it's a slogan that is promoted to divert people's attention from the fact that we have real problems, and you know, as a can-do nation in the past, we've taken on challenges like that and dealt with hunger and dealt with
We had a war on poverty that we lost, actually.
That's true.
Unfortunately.
That's true. Right. Unfortunately, we can always find the money for a war effort.
Right.
But how about helping people?
Well, it's just I had the pleasure to hear this kind of related anecdote. I had the pleasure to hear a woman from the kind of Salvadoran Congress. She's actually an elected representative from the country of El Salvador, and she was talking about how their government really, really wants to do these amazing things, provide a healthcare clinic in every village, clothe children and feed them. Do they really want to do these amazing projects? And there's no money. There's literally no money. The government of El Salvador owes money to the first world, right? And then here we have the United States with all the financing, all of the wealth. We print money. We need money, we print it.
Right.
And yet we don't have the money to make sure there's food for everyone and health care. This is really disgusting.
And one of the reasons why we don't have the money is because so many of the multi-billion-dollar international corporations pay no taxes, maybe even get tax breaks.
Right. Let's watch a trailer from this. We're run out of time here. Let's watch a trailer from We're Not Broke. We'll be right back after this.
We were walking down the street and I got this call, this number came up and I thought, I don't know who this is, but well, let me answer it. And I got a phone call from Adam Montgomery, who had been in contact throughout the process with us. He said, I just wanted to call and let you know there was a problem with your DVD. And I was like, oh, no. And I said, what's that? And he said, it's fantastic. And we're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. We were screaming. And then I turned to my editor. I'm like, Sundance, we're in. And she's like, oh my God. And we're in the streets of Soho screaming. I'm Karen Hayes.
And I'm Victoria Bruce.
And the title of our film is We're Not Broke.
And we are in the U.S. documentary competition. Our film, We're Not Broke, is the story of corporate tax dodgers. And when we first started out filming this, we didn't have any idea how prevalent this problem is, but we're losing about $100 billion a year in revenue.
It's something that we discovered in February of 2011. People were starting to protest about, so we began to follow them in their protests.
This sort of equitable tax equity, fairness, economic equality, all these themes we're seeing now in Occupy, all these people were starting back in February with these little groups all around the country.
As I started to do the research and things started to reveal themselves about how this whole system is working and how corporations are able to get away with this, it was like peeling away layers for me. And I was starting to see, oh, this is like the larger context of what's going on right now, and this is one of the elements of it.
GE, Verizon, Google, Facebook, Pfizer, you cannot name a multinational corporation that isn't paying either nothing, next to nothing, negative amounts and getting money back. And it floored me. All the corporations fall back on is, we're not doing anything illegal. Well, of course not. You wrote the laws. You pass them off from your accountants right to the hands of the lobbyists. They go right into the, hallways of Congress, and they literally get their own laws passed. We have experts in our film that say, well, slavery was legal. Child labor was legal. Women didn't have the right to vote, so legal, is that morally right? And I think we have to totally change the way we look at things in this country. And our film really exposes how, people can say, oh, these people on Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street, they don't know what they're talking about. We'll show you what they're talking about. I mean, we really lay it out exactly how these corporations have completely co-opted our government, and we've outsourced our democracy to the highest bidder.
It had a great education system, safe streets, and jobs for everyone. There were a few poor people and a few rich people. Most were in the middle. The people of this land paid for their good life by investing in their future together. They called this paying taxes. Everyone paid what they could afford. The poor people paid a little, the people in the middle paid a middling amount, and the rich people, 1% of everyone, paid more than the others. Just about everyone thought that this was best. But over time, rich people decided they weren't rich enough, so they came up with ways to get richer. The first way was through tax cuts. They didn't mind if this meant fewer services for everyone. They said, why should I care about other non-rich people? I can hire teachers, safety, waste disposal people to work for me for less money than taxes cost. And then I can keep the rest of my taxes for me. The second way rich people got richer was through tax loopholes. These are laws that allow people to avoid paying taxes, with the idea that it's beneficial for other people too, if this group didn't pay. The third way rich people got richer was to pay no taxes at all. This is called tax evasion. Of course, if all the people did this, everything would fall apart. But rich people and giant companies they owned figured no one would notice. This is illegal, but many did it anyway. And so it went. In 20 years, rich people doubled their share of the land's income. Schools, public safety, the roads, parks, libraries, public transportation, all went into...
The strength of our union is our members in the work that they perform every day on behalf of their students and the public. Public education enables democracy. If we had no public education, only the rich would get a decent education. None of our members went into education to become political activists. Yet we find today that that's a part of our job, defending public education for the 99% against the attacks by the 1%. We call our campaign to defend public education the fight for California's future.
The future's coming. What do you think?
In 2011, the actions of CFT to fight for California's future kicked into high gear. We built on our work from 2010 with the March for California's Future, creating a partnership built for a Prop 25 victory. This created the foundation for a progressive tax initiative campaign. Here are a few scenes from our work, the work of you, the members.
Students and teachers are rallying around a measure that would restore the tax rate for California's wealthiest people to what it was several decades ago. Assemblywoman Nancy Skinner says California's wealthiest paid 1% more taxes under Governors Ronald Reagan and Pete Wilson. She says her bill, AB 1130, would restore that 1% for the state's super rich. LA Community College students, educators, and community leaders are throwing their support behind the measure. They say it is needed to continue public education.
At 6 o'clock, hundreds of students and teachers going from the classroom to the protest line trying to save the education budget. Many participants marched from their schools to Pershing Square in downtown Los Angeles this evening. They fear the state could cut $4 billion from education.
The faces you see are teachers, parents, administrators, and students who say they've come together today to speak with one voice. At the podium, Joshua Petchold, President-elect of the California Federation of Teachers.
The message is to get the legislature to listen to teachers and supporters on the need to pass these extensions, these tax extensions, to continue funding public education and other vital government services.
You can clearly see the large crowds of so many people here trying to get across the same message. And I should point out that there are similar demonstrations going on in San Francisco as well as Fresno. They're hoping they can be heard all the way to Sacramento.
And we're back from the trailer. We're Not Broke, going to be playing Friday, May 3rd at the Cabrillo College Watsonville Forum. Saturday, May 4th, kind of wrapping up the Santa Cruz County schedule of events, we're going to have the film A Place at the Table, dealing with hunger in America. Again, you know, the richest country in the world, and yet we can't feed everyone here? Like, what's this about, man?
Right. This event is at a new venue for us at the Springfield Community Grange local, in Pajaro.
It's a problem that people are ashamed of acknowledging.
It's very humiliating.
It's tiring.
What are we going to do?
This generation will live sicker and die younger than the parents' generation.
Hunger is right here in the United States.
And the problem is getting worse.
The reason people are going hungry is not because of a shortage of food, it's because of poverty.
1 out of every 2 kids in the United States at some point will be on food assistance.
I was one of those kids that was hungry. It messes with you.
The average food stamp benefit is $3 a day. There are people who are living on that, and you really can't.
If you have a limited amount of money, you're going to spend it on the cheapest calories you can get, and that's processed foods.
My dream is to go to college, but I can't tell my kids, I'll make sure you guys eat in 2 years. I'm struggling to even feed my kids every day. Put that in there. Okay, that was a bad idea.
As many as 50 million Americans rely on charitable food programs.
I haven't received a pay raise in 4 years, and what I used to spend on a month in groceries now gets me about 2 weeks.
It's amazing how the need has increased. Charity is a great thing, but it's not the way to end hunger. We're weakening our nation.
I don't really know what to do.
It was a documentary in 1968 that put hunger on the national agenda.
Regular Americans rose up and demanded a modern nutrition assistance safety net, which helped us almost end hunger entirely by the late 1970s.
It showed that public policy could work, political will could work to make a difference in our country.
There's probably 600, 700 chefs here, all really committed to helping this problem that we have with childhood obesity and hunger.
We're working to make sure that families have access to quality, affordable food.
It's so good.
There's a lot of education that needs to happen around what is healthy food.
Give your ideas for change, for the healthy life of your kids.
We all have a stake in this.
About patriotism, really. If another country was doing this to our kids, we would be at war. And it doesn't have to be that way.
So, yes, we know about the people being hungry all around the world, but it's kind of amazing that this film points out how many people are hungry in this country. Right. And part of it is the fact that the U.S. just doesn't put resources there, and another fact is that the agricultural policies really promote foods that have so little nutritional value.
Yeah.
That
unfortunately.
Yeah, and if you're poor and you don't have a lot of money to spend, you buy the cheap food, which is really not very good food.
Yeah, just contributes further.
Right.
Well, we've only got another minute or two left, but I want to give both of you a kind of closing statement here. Sam, if you had any reactions about kind of some of the films we heard about, or kind of anything that spoke to you in any way, or just anything you want to say about kind of our film fest here.
Well, I'm happy that it's happening. I'm really happy that I saw a film this morning, Let Fury Fill the Hour, and it was a great film. And I think that the more that people can have access to media and information that is representative of the things going on around them and representative of their communities, representative of their lives, such as the media that you're producing here at Santa Cruz Community TV. I think the more access, the more media that's being made that's representative of these things, I think the better off that we really are. Yeah. I think that in the same way that we're being fed garbage food en masse, I think we're being fed garbage media en masse. And in the same way that food makes us ill, the media that we're being fed makes us ill. And I think that they're very similar. And so I think that with nice programs like this and with nice film festivals like this, I think that we are on our way to a healthier community, healthier
mental
population.
And physical environment, certainly.
But I'm just happy to be here, and I'm really thankful that venues like this exist, and it seems like a really healthy, nice community access television station. Really psyched you're here, and thanks again for having me out, Jeffrey.
Where can we learn more about your work and sort of just the film in general?
WisconsinRising.com is the place to check out.
Great.
Yeah, so you can see WisconsinRising.com, you can watch the trailer there. You can learn more about the film, learn a little bit more about my background and what brought me there. And yeah.
Great. And we're able to put on the festival like this for so many years because we have a lot of generous sponsors, and I think we're going to be seeing a list in a minute, including community television and the Nickelodeon Theater, City of Santa Cruz, Sasquatch Computer, Community Printers prints our beautiful brochure, and 20 labor unions contribute money so that their members can all come and see films, and we just hope that the audience, hope the show has inspired people to come to some of our shows.
Right, yeah. Well, again, it's reelwork.org. You can find out more information about the festival and a whole amazing schedule of events happening not only here in Santa Cruz County, but also in Santa Clara and Monterey County. So again, it's just been great to see the festival grow and thrive and just really kind of give back to its community. You know, I remember marching along the May Day Reelwork Film Festival volunteers and crew back in 2006, I think it was, when we had that really amazing march here in Santa Cruz around immigrant right and worker solidarity and all that stuff.
Right.
But again, Jeffrey Smedberg, Sam Mayfield, thank you so much for joining us. With Community Television, again, my name is Sandino Gomez. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you all another time. Have a great night.
This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the redwood forest to the Gulf waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking the highway of highway, the soul bright in the sky below me. Well, I went walking where the sun was shining, the wheat fields were waving, dust cloud rolling, fog was lifting, and I heard this voice singing, it might have been Woody, this land was made for you and me. You do what, man? California. From the redwood forest, the Gulf Street water, this land was made for you and me. One more time, this land is your land, my land, California, this land was made for you and me. Oh, this land was made, and it still is, for you and me.